On November 9, 1945, Wang Gi opened the first Moo Duk Kwan school in Yongsan, Seoul, Korea. This video is a depiction of the significant events that led to the formation of the Moo Duk Kwan by the founder and the ensuing years of its growth, maturity, and continuing influence as an important modern-era martial arts organization. It is also intended to highlight the significance of the event and the history which led us here. That it is worthy of recognizing for our own edification and for the education of others is noted by the massive display of support by Moo Duk Kwan members worldwide, by Moo Duk Kwan alumni, and their own students that make up the Moo Duk Kwan heritage for future generations. In 1921, at the Don-O Festival held in May, an incident occurred that would forever change the life of a youthful attendee. A man was observed defending himself against 8 attackers, using his feet and hands in a most interesting and effective manner. Intrigued, the youth, named Wang Gi, watched as the man evaded attacks and countered with sophisticated kicking techniques. Inspired by what he saw, the 7-year-old then dedicated himself to becoming a martial artist. Some 15 years later, Wang Gi, already considered an accomplished martial artist, being primarily self-taught, while working in Manchuria, met and was accepted as a student by Master Yang Kuk-jin. This marked the beginning and early formal training of Wang Gi in the disciplines of Sebop, Bobop, and Ryunbop, as well as Dam Twa Sip I Ro and Tai Kuk Kwan. All contributed to his expanding knowledge of martial artistry and the basis for what would be established as the Moo Duk Kwan. A difficult period of history for Korean people before the ending of World War II and liberation to an independent country, the 9 years of training under Master Yang were extremely important to Wang Gi, establishing a firm foundation in the philosophy and techniques he practiced. At the close of the war in 1945, national independence encouraged him to organize his own martial arts organization for the purpose of furthering the knowledge and benefits that this began from very humble beginnings, what would become the largest martial arts organization in Korea by the early 1960s. That Moo Duk Kwan first dojang was opened on November 9, 1945. It is at this 75th gathering anniversary that we, his students, mark the occasion and commemorate the day. The period of time immediately after the founding of this first Moo Duk Kwan school showed a period of rigorous training focusing on positive attributes of human development. The training curriculum in these early days consisted of Hyung, Sam Su Shik, Ju De Ryun, and Kyuk Pa. Students trained in simple, trimless uniforms. By 1949, 4 students were issued the first Moo Duk Kwan Danbans. A prolific scholar, Wang Gi also penned his first modern Korean martial art textbook, the Wasu Do Kyo-ban. He would continue to author a new publication every 10 years for the next 5 decades. The Korean War brought another period of hardship for the Korean people and for the Moo Duk Kwan Wang Gi founded. During this time, he continued to teach and lead his organization in Busan under extreme conditions. Poorly clad students practiced the art they had grown so proud of, despite the hardships of war all around them. Nearly 1 million deaths, a country permanently divided into 2, and 3 years of the ravages of war covered the Korean peninsula. With the truce in 1953, some semblance of a return to a former life began to emerge. Wang Gi, despite having personally experienced extreme hardship during this war, renewed with a vigor his efforts to promote the art and his Moo Duk Kwan organization. A startling list of achievements ensued from 1954 until 1961. A prime period of growth that was termed the Golden Age of the Moo Duk Kwan established the organization as the most influential martial arts school during this time. Contributing factors to this success include the discovery of the existence of the Mu Yi Dobo Tang Gi, the oldest manuscript of its kind in the Seoul University Library. This provided an important historical context for the practice of indigenous Korean martial arts dating back many centuries. This also provided Wang Yi with the basis for adopting and aligning his own system and organization with the historical art of Subak.
In 1957, he saw the Muyedobo Tongji for the first time and found the Subak name. That was about 12 years after the Moo Duk Kwan's founding. He was very happy and studied the Kwanpop section of the Muyedobo Tongji and introduced the Korean historic art Subak by forming the Korean Subak-do Association in 1960s. Because it was only 4 years after the war, and no one was interested in history and cultural aspect of the life. I think he felt an importance of history in the Mudo culture. So he officially named the history Subak-do in 1960.
Embracing the tradition of ancient martial artists in Korea, Wang Yi adopted the use of trim on the dobak, signifying belt rank and recognizing the traditional apparel used by Korean martial artists in the Kokoro dynasty.
The trimmed Moo Duk Kwan dobok started in 1954 in order to connect with the traditional custom of the Goguryeo dynasty. It's about 2,500 years ago. So 1954 is also the year I started at the training at the Moo Duk Kwan. So my experience young, when I was 9 or 10 years old, I was very proud to wear the trimmed dobok along with the group wearing the Moo Duk Kwan dobok with high standard. We were very easily identified as Moo Duk Kwan practitioners because of the trimmed dobok. I believe this helped to increase the visibility of the Moo Duk Kwan at that time. The Moo Duk Kwan, the prime growth, ends in 1961 as a new military government dictatorship had begun. We begin to lose the space to maintain the Moo Duk Kwan identity. During this difficult time in 1965, for the first time, I saw the picture of trimmed dobok practitioners showing and recognized in the Black Belt magazines. I was very happy and motivated to see the Moo Duk Kwan is alive and kicking outside of Korea. It gave us a sense of hope and then dreams.
As the technical foundation grew, Wang Yi strengthened it with a philosophical focus that taught the importance of adding scholarly attributes to the Mudo practitioner curriculum.
The founder used to say, scholarship begins with a study and ends in theory. And Mudo begins with action and ends in theory. His action in his life was a demonstration of the Mudo philosophy. He called action philosophy. He also emphasized on importance in scholarly as a Mudo practitioner, and he published a book every 10 years to support his emphasis.
His foresight imbued with discipline and respect, he continued to promote and establish the Danban system as a system of recognizing achievement and seniority within the Moo Duk Kwan.
As discussed earlier, Danban is a great culture to uphold the Mudo order, which reflects the discipline and respect. And discipline and respect are planted in the Moo Duk Kwan culture through the Danban system.
This sincere combination of philosophy and technical expertise continued through his teaching of the use of the Huri, the philosophy of line, speed, and beauty, and his establishment of the 5 Mudo values, indicated by history, tradition, philosophy, discipline and respect, and technique.
He emphasized on physics and science to base the Moo Duk Kwan techniques by applying to use of our hip. It became a foundation of the technique in the Moo Duk Kwan. We are very grateful to him for the Moo Duk Kwan culture and the lessons in 5 Moo Duk values, as well as a heritage for us. He also provided clear direction for us to focus toward the proper Moo Duk path.
By the new decade, the founder incorporated the Korean Subak Do Association in 1960 for the purpose of supporting the growth of the Moo Duk Kwan legally through official recognition by the Korean government. It was at this time being taught in every branch of the military and in the police academies. This period also witnessed the joining of other countries and martial arts through his direct organization into single events for demonstration, competition, and celebration purposes.
Because of his view of the Moo Duk, it's not about fighting or punching or kicking. It's about history, tradition, philosophy, discipline, respect, and techniques. Because of that, many of the good things what happened in 1960, such as international human relations. So among the China, Japan, Philippines, USA, and Korea, we had a meeting as a goodwill demonstration or competition. This was really for the first time in that scale in Korea. And also, the Moo Duk Kwan curriculum being taught in the Naval Academy, Air Force Academy, and Police Academy, all the young elite institute taking the value for the Moo Duk Kwan training. And also all the members, wherever they go, they carry the Moo Duk Kwan patch and Moo Duk Kwan flag showing their pride. It was a direct result from the above 5 Moo Duk value in our action under the founder's leadership, and it has surely helped to build a foundation for future or broad establishment later on.
Political upheaval brought a time of uncertainty to the Moo Duk Kwan in 1961. Suppression of Moo Duk Kwan activities, national adoption of the Taekwondo martial art, and the forced acceptance of a nationally sponsored art versus the civilian-run Moo Duk Kwan all led to the final enactment of the government to cancel the Korean Subak Do Association in 1965.
The Moo Duk Kwan went through another extreme hardship as the military government dictated in 1961. They had cancelled registration of the Korean Subak Do Association Moo Duk Kwan without any good reason. It was a very difficult time for founder personally, but he decided to defend his right at the court. He went to High Court. After long battle, he won the case. The government, they reappeared to the Supreme Court, so that the long battle in the Supreme Court, the founder won again. So we are able to say the Subak Do, the Moo Duk Kwan, through this legally. It was a very difficult time for the founder. I remember, my family lived at the Yongsan, Seoul. The whole family get together those period, wished the positive judgment from the court. That's one of the few times really I prayed, for that the decisions. I was seniors in high school at that time. I'm very grateful. We still enjoy the Subak Do Moo Duk Kwan because from his combat by the founder.
What followed and continued into the next decade was the emigration of Subak Do Moo Duk Kwan instructors to various parts of the world, caused by challenging constraints imposed in the homeland. The Moo Duk Kwan identity in Korea was forcefully extinguished, encouraging a new period of global focus. A resurgence in interest brought on a flourishing of new Moo Duk Kwan activity in many countries. A strong identity and reputation of the Moo Duk Kwan was again established and continued throughout the 1980s and 90s. In 2002, the founder of the Moo Duk Kwan, Wang Yi, passed away on July 14th. His successor, H.C. Wang, was named, and his immediate work focused on the mission to strengthen the Moo Duk Kwan Foundation for future generations.
We lost a great leader. His leadership helped us to connect with the Moo Duk values. And he showed he was a visionary through many incidents. One of the things is if you see the cover picture of the Subak the Dagam that was published in 1970. So he had the vision at that time, the Moo Duk Kwan will practice in the moon. So his visions are still in our hand and the future generation.
At this 75th commemoration of the founding of the Moo Duk Kwan, we reflect back on many things worth noting. That we are all a part of this history, rich with storied examples of how each individual who has contributed to its betterment has in turn become an important part of its foundation. That the thousands of lives that make up the legacy of the founder's work continue, despite the many hardships and difficulties imposed by political situations, war, and conflict, and have emerged to be the visible evidence of the virtue that resides at the core of this organization's center. That the commonality that we share, the one constant linkage to the founder, is one in which we have great pride and accept as our responsibility. The notion that the Moo Duk Kwan is worth preserving for our time and future generations.
He provided the visions we try to implement it in our time, and next generation will take on. We are here to celebrating 75th anniversary. So your participation is helping to implement his vision. The founder left us with a heritage for us to enjoy, practice, preserve, and strengthen. We feel very fortunate to have such a heritage. 관장님, 감사합니다.